Hope you all are having a good week so far. Welcome to WELTE every 7th. Episodes coming out the 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th of every month on my channel. Topics kind of at random, kind of following whatever happens in the culture or whatever happens in my life during the last week that I kind of want to put some words to, or if you want to help me out with some future topics of conversation, if you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments, and I will try and make an episode out of what you're looking for from me. But today I want to talk about an episode of a TV show that I saw for the first time this week, and listen, I'm late to the party on this show, okay? I just started watching this. It's on Netflix. It originally aired on NBC. Allison and I are enjoying it, and it's soaring up my list of favorite shows of all time. Really funny comedy show that I feel like I can relate to a lot as someone who, I went to a community college for 2 years to get my associate's degree, and the show's called Community. This specific episode that really just captured me was in season 3, the 4th episode of the season. It's called Remedial Chaos Theory. Hang on, gotta pick up this pizza. Alright, so Remedial Chaos Theory. The idea of the episode is that there's several people hanging out in an apartment together. A food delivery person shows up with their food and nobody wants to go downstairs to go receive the food. So they decide to roll dice to determine randomly who has to go downstairs to go get the food, thus creating several different timelines, as they call it, of possible events. So basically they play out each scenario, each dice roll, and what would have happened in the following, it's only a couple minutes that it would take for somebody to go and get the food and come back up. But what ends up happening in the apartment based on who leaves the room ends up varying so wildly, without anything miraculous or without anybody in particular doing something extremely out of character. The results vary wildly on these people's lives. It's written tremendously and they executed amazingly on the script, and it really made me think. And while I don't believe that in reality there are infinitive universes where each reality plays itself out and then starts a new domino effect of things, I do believe on a really basic level the application of that thought process or that consideration is still valuable to us. I think about this as somebody who delivers food on a regular basis for my income. When I accept or decline an order, every single tiny decision that I'm making is changing the entire course of the rest of my day. When you're on the fence about accepting or declining a particular DoorDash order, for example, what we don't really think about, but what is actually happening, is two entirely different outcomes for the rest of your day are being created. Let me deliver this pizza while it's still hot. Basically, we shouldn't let ourselves get worked up if a shift is not going perfectly, because we don't know what we influenced several orders ago. Sure, maybe you're not making as much money as you wanted to during a shift, and maybe you've finished up a shift and you just feel like it wasn't your day, it wasn't in the cards for you. You got a couple orders that you had to wait for and you feel like you just got screwed over. Well, at least you made it home. Because let's say you decided to do a different order earlier in the day, and it would have set you up better, and it would have compounded because you'd been in a better spot, and then your next order would have been better, and the order after that would have been better, and let's say you would have made 40 more bucks for the shift. But if in the final order of that hypothetical better shift, you get in a serious accident, well, which shift would you have rather done now? So much about life is mindset, perspective, thinking bigger picture, thinking more long term, gratitude, having gratitude for the fact that in almost every scenario, in 99.5% of our days or more, outcomes take place. The only true reality plays itself out in which we don't see the worst possible scenarios happening in our days. And in general, we should feel lucky about that. Just because everything doesn't work to complete perfection That's a completely immature, illogical way to reflect on your day. A lot of gig tubers like to complain on YouTube about how things went for them, or how certain apps or certain customers are handling them. And next time I see you guys' content and you're out here complaining, I'm just going to comment Remedial Chaos Theory with no context, and then they can Google it to find out what that is and maybe find my video. There should really be less complaining, because worst case scenarios in life happen so rarely. And honestly, complaining about your own circumstance, I don't know how often that should really ever happen, because if on any given sequence of events the worst case scenario is you dying, then you won't even be here to be able to complain about it in the first place. So when would there be a time that complaining would make any sense? Unless you're complaining on somebody else's behalf for something that happened to them. Even then, consider, hey, wait a second, was this the worst possible outcome for them too? I think another thing that people refer to this concept is, I think I've heard it referred to as the butterfly effect or something like that. Like the entire course of human history would have been different. Something about, like, if a butterfly didn't flap its wings a certain way, then weather patterns would have been completely altered. And again, I don't know how much of this stuff I believe, but I guess I make this argument to point us to complaining less, having more gratitude, that even on bad days, our bad days really aren't that bad in the scope of human history. And to point you to watch that episode on Netflix if you're interested. I was watching it and I thought, this episode standing alone, even without the context of the previous 2 seasons, it still would have had the same impact. Like, you'll get it even if you don't understand the characters. Best single episode of a show under 30 minutes that I've ever seen. So congratulations, like nearly 15 years late, to Community for that. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my thoughts on that. For this episode of WELTE Every 7th, I will see you next time on WELTE.